Coach, wondering if you could update us on Cicilio and kind of what led to that decision in the 30th minute to make a change.
Yeah, I think Cecilio was physically struggling. I think right away, for me, being close to him, you could see he couldn't keep pace with the game. Physically, he was off. His touches were off. He was giving the ball away, wasn't able to recover, and it was affecting our ability to play. And you know, I don't enjoy having to do it, but I had to do it. He was a liability at that point, and clearly, maybe the game in Salt Lake took its toll on him, as well as the entire group. I think I was quite surprised to see how our tempo and energy was really, really lacking. So, but the idea for me there was he wasn't up to speed, and he was performing poorly, and it was affecting the entire team. So at that point, I had to make a decision to make the change. And again, I think Johnny came in and gave us a little bit of life. We got a little bit more organized and had the ball more, had a little more verticality, and thus we were able to push the tempo a little bit more at the end of the first half. And that's why I made the change.
I feel like a lot of these games we've talked about a good first half or a good second half. What are the struggles with kind of getting a full 90 minutes in there, and what can you do to kind of help build that consistency?
Yeah, I think it's a few things. Clearly today, I think there was a physical effect because I've never seen our team really hit the wall like they hit the wall today. And I think physically and emotionally they hit the wall. And putting together 90 minutes requires investment physically and mentally and emotionally. And we're showing a little bit of obviously lack of maturation in that. We have enough quality and enough leaders on the field, but it takes full commitment from everybody. It's not easy. None of this, if it was easy, there'd be 27 fantastic teams that win every week. But this game is challenging, and we're getting challenged right now, and that's where we're at. Today was quite disappointing. Again, for lack of a better word, solutions. It's physically we wavered a lot, and it was quite surprising.
Josh, could you give us any more insight into Cicilio? I know you said a couple weeks ago that he's been struggling with maybe an illness. Where's his conditioning at right now? And I guess just what's the nature of what you saw from him?
Yeah, it's a good question, and we'll have to dive into certainly what his all his data over the last few weeks to see. Because I mentioned it a couple games ago, and most recent games. It's physically he looks, and maybe it's just the challenging nature of our league and the newness of certainly Austin, the heat, the warmth, training in this environment, playing in this environment. But I can't put my finger on it, but it's noticeably been off for him, and we're gonna certainly need to talk to him about everything from diet to nutrition to rest, because we need him to perform at a high level, and he knows he was off tonight, it's difficult, but again, for the better of the team, I had to make that move. He was physically off, and then just quality-wise, he was, he just wasn't himself. You can see it doesn't, he's just, for whatever it is right now, he's not up to speed with the game.
And you talked, I think, before about guys' belief in what you're trying to do. Do you feel like that message is getting through, or are guys, performing the patterns and things that you guys have been working on, or is it some of that kind of left at the training ground when you watch these performances?
Well, I think maybe this performance. Again, I thought the Salt Lake one was pretty. Again, most performances are pretty good. So this one, I think, again, the way we want to play with tempo and speed and positioning, and that requires energy. That requires to put forth a physical effort. And if you're not able to gain your positions and you're not strong and powerful enough to maintain the ball and make good decisions, it affects every aspect of the game for us. And that's what it looked like today. That was. I was quite surprised. Physically, I thought our guys were in a better place. They were in a good place prior to this game, and certainly yesterday at training. So, from that side, the mentality I thought was good. And then, I think we started a little slow, picked it up there in the second half once we made a change and came into the game a bit more. But again, I think it was clear in the second half we did not have the legs or the physicality.
Josh, just talk about John's performance tonight. showings. It seemed like at least he was a positive.
Yeah, I think John comes in. He gives again. He always, and everyone gives a good effort, but he gives a bit of verticality and speed, and he's a tireless runner, and he wants to score goals. So he does a good job arriving in and around the box. He's unfortunate probably not to grab the header, but even a couple other instances where he's getting in decent spots. But it was challenging in a lot of fronts tonight, and again, I think physically, that being the first thing that didn't allow us to certainly play and move the ball and have the connections and the rhythm. It was surprising.
Thank you. Next up, Kyle Dalton with Sportscasting.com.
Hey, Coach. So, just want to talk about the defense. So, in the first game, your defense surrendered two or more goals just 5 times. But in the last 4 matches, it's happened 3 times. Can you explain to me where you see your defense?
No, I think it's a good point. I think we stabilized a bit of our structure after the first 7 or 8 games. We had one defensive structure, and now we've worked in more of a 4-4-2 the last 8 or 9 games. Today we went to a 4-3-3 to try to be a little more aggressive and press a bit more. But today we gave up goals in set piece and transition. So 2 of their strengths that we've talked about, and certainly we weren't able to keep them off the board. But I think the defensively over the last couple months we've been pretty solid, but to your point, I think you're right. The last few games, we've given up a little bit more, and it's I think for a variety of reasons. But we'll take a look at it, and we got to continue to get better.
Thank you. Next up, Bill West.
Hey, Josh. Just want to ask about Gracie, what you thought about his performance tonight, kind of where you see him continuing to slot in with the rest of the offense.
Yeah, we got to find what's certainly where he's gonna. He certainly is more of a second striker, an underneath guy, and in these games we give him the freedom to come underneath and obviously come into the channels, and we want to go through him more. That we certainly need to, and I think you can see the quality when he comes down and he gets balls. He brings it in. The first half, a couple really nice combinations with Diego, getting us behind the line, and we need more. We need more running through him, so we'll have to really discuss that. And obviously, I think with Musa coming into the fold soon enough, we'll have a striker, and we'll be able to move some guys into positions that I think will be more favorable for him, because he's a beautiful soccer player, and we need him to have more influence, more contact with the game in different areas of the field, and use his qualities. And thus he'll, in training we see it quite easily. He brings guys together and certainly gives a calming effect to the game, but. We got to work through that with him, and obviously tonight, a lot of minutes, so we'll have to see where he's at physically for the next game.
Was there anything that Vancouver was doing to stop him in particular?
Well, no, I think Vancouver's again, they're a very committed, compact team. They play a 4-5-1, and the 3 in the midfield work extremely hard. They'll jump the press with some of their guys out wide, their wingers. So they do try to certainly minimize the ability to come in centrally, and they're comfortable sitting right around the half line. So. It makes it crowded in there. That's, again, we had some combinations out wide. We had switches of play that really started to stretch them, and we needed to do that a little bit more. But ultimately, again, I think getting behind the line a bit more, and physically we didn't have the legs, and that was, I'd say through the first half we did a decent job of it, but as we went on, it was certainly gone.
Thank you. Next up, Archibald.
Thank you, Josh. This is a pretty, I'm sure, a very frustrating loss. I know for you and the guys, but in particular for the fans. You look at Vancouver in the standings, and this one at home, and you think that 3 points is pretty doable here, and then you come away empty-handed. So what's your message to the fans of Austin FC, and why is this team still a team that you think is capable of reaching the playoffs, and why should that belief from the fans still be in you and the coaching staff and these players?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I mean, we're all open to criticism right now, and the team's not performing well enough, and that's my job, our staff's job, to get the best out of them, and it's been disappointing for all of us. I think we're all frustrated and disappointed for the fans. Me for them more than anything, because they pour their heart and soul into every one of these games. When you see the fans out and about in this city, they're extremely supportive. So it's our job to keep pushing on. I'm disappointed. The players are disappointed, and we got to continue to get better. But you know, there's a litany of things that we can talk about why we're not performing, and obviously bringing in players now to help give us a little bit more offense. You know, the way the season started and the injuries that we've had, but you know, those are things that happen. We gotta push on and be strong and deal with the adversity, face on. It'll make us stronger in the end. But tonight was you know, from a physical standpoint, we lost, and that was what's, you know, most concerning and most disappointing. But most of our games do not look like this, and we have much more to give, and obviously we create more opportunities. But I want them to be, you know, fans, because this is what we do. I mean, we're doing everything we can for them right now. It's a really rough moment, but we appreciate their undying support, and our guys will continue to give everything they have. I mean, it's not from a lack of effort. Tonight there was just a lack of energy left in the tank for some of these guys, and that's, you know, for us, we got to decide how we put together the best, you know, certainly the best players that are in the best space.
Thank you, Coach. We have time for 2 more questions. I believe we only have 2 hands raised. So Zach Smith with Hill Country News, and then Mike Craven, you can take the last one.
Yeah, hey Josh. You've talked about anxiety that you see from your players after you go down a goal.
Sure.
Did you sense any anxiety today, maybe when they scored in the second half, or did it set in at all?
Yeah. Again, I think we started the second half sluggish. They came out and obviously had a decent amount of energy coming, but I mean, we literally were physically not able to keep the ball, the passing, gaining our positioning, the dueling. It was, you know, I think it was pretty clear to see. And then, you know, you try to bring in some fresh legs and obviously weather the storm a bit, but they got a second one in transition, which was deflating. But this is where we're at. It's a low moment for everybody, but we got to, you know, continue to try to get better, and obviously we got to recover from this game and see where the guys are at physically and mentally over the next 2 days to play against another a very difficult team with Portland at home. So we regroup and prepare for the next game.
Coach, before the season, you kind of talked about how you know, scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in soccer, and that's where you have to spend your money. So I'm curious, you know, through 19 matches, kind of how do you grade or assess the performance of your designated players and some of those frontline guys who y'all were counting on to score goals?
Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing process. Again, for all these guys that come from other leagues, whether they've played at the highest level or are young and are coming through the ranks, I mean, it's acclimating to our league. It's acclimating to the city, to certainly the travel and understanding what it looks like. But I think Cecilio's, you know, has been pretty solid at times. I think right now he's in a little bit of a dip. Tomas was certainly gaining, I think, momentum over the last couple weeks, and I think physically took a toll on him, you know, certainly this week as well. He put a ton of effort in against Salt Lake, but you know, they're growing. It's not to say where they're at, you know, to give them a fair grade right now. It's difficult. I think we'll review that at the end of the year, but they're key components to our group, and Sebastian is now integrated with us, and he's a high level player, and he quickly makes the group better. We got to find better ways to get him incorporated with the group and have more contact and influence with the game. And I think, you know, the addition of Musa with having a striker and now putting Sebastian in a position where he can, you know, be more in pockets and operate in spaces and be more fluid will give him, you know, we'll give him a little bit more contact with the game. But you know, I think there's room to grow for everybody, not just our DPs, but you know, we have a number of experienced players from the league. And we have some young guys and some journeymen and some role players. But you know, the first year is always going to be challenging. The expansion teams, it's never easy. And you know, right now we're feeling that and seeing that, but we got to rally these guys around the idea of who we are and who we play for, because this city and organization is amazing, and we've got to push on.
And just a real quick follow-up, you've gone to different leagues, different teams before. How long do you think that kind of takes? What are those challenges that maybe we don't see joining a league, and kind of when is it fair to start kind of assessing how they're playing in a new place?
Well, I think it's fair. I mean, it's fair for anyone to cast assessment or an opinion. I mean, I think these are just things that we understand as being in this space for so long. It is something that is relative, and for some it takes months, some it takes a year, some it doesn't take any time at all. So again, I think CC's adapted pretty well to the league. He's, you know, right now I think it's been difficult, but for a number of them, Johan, Rodney, Tomas, it's a learning process. They're young men, and they're coming into a new city. They're family, and with family or without family, it's an adaptation period. And, they're very good people and obviously very good soccer players, and we just got to continue to try to extract everything we can from them, but also, help produce and groom their talent. And that's our role, and that's our job going forward.